The topic of the discourse today is civil engineering discipline, opportunities abound for career development and service to the nation. To start with, I would like to mention that my organization is Bureau of Indian Standards. Most of the countries worldwide has an organization called National Standards Body. And in case of India, the Bureau of Indian Standards, formerly the Indian Standard Institution, is the national standards body of the country. For Britain, it is British Standards Institute. For America, it is ANSI, American National Standards Institute. For Germany, it is DIN, and for electrical within Germany, it is GKE. For France, it is FNOR, and so on and so forth. So these are the standards body belonging to National Standards Body, BIS. You must be familiar with some of the standards called Indian standards that we formulate, like IS 456, which is a concrete code, IS 800, which is steel design code, IS 1343, which is pre-stressed concrete code, IS 883, which is a timber design code, IS 15916, which is the bamboo design code, and SP 7, Special Publication 7, which is National Building Code of India, and so on and so forth. So these are some of the popular standards for by which the BIS, the standards body, is very well recognized. Coming to the understanding of engineering itself, post our 10+2 or 12th class or inter college, we embark upon a career, maybe a engineering career. So, but what engineering is all about? If you try to understand what engineering is, it is really application of science to practice. So there is a pure science where you understand the principles, which are the fundamentals of materials or chemicals. But then when you apply these fundamental principles or scientific principles to practice, it is called engineering. So, engineering is something which we all so much are close towards, because ultimately we are able to see the outcome of scientific principle for the benefit of society, how the society can gain it. People can become more healthy, they get a good shelter, they are saved from various vagaries of nature, from disasters, from any kind of attacks. So engineering is so useful. It brings comfort, it brings safety, it brings functionality, it brings performance, and therefore the engineers are saviors of life. They protect life, and which is the original nature of Mother Earth. So engineering can therefore be said the application of science to the optimum conversion of resources of nature to the use of humankind and others. So this can be done through the creative application of scientific principles to design or develop structures, machines, apparatus, systems, processes, or the work or execution or utilization of these simply or in combination, or to construct or operate the same as per the design, or to forecast their behavior under specific operating condition. So an engineer वो कुछ बनाता है, वो कुछ करता है, जिससे he is a creator, and कई बार जो किया हुआ होता है उसको बचाता है. He guides as to how to sustain it or maintain it. So this is all about briefly on engineering. But then within engineering also, originally, as you know, the one of the most original institution in the country was Thomson College of Engineering, somewhere in 1854 or so, or the Anna University of around the same time. So it was actually Thomson College of Civil Engineering. Everything was called as civil engineering, because the other part was what is called as military engineering. So when it was being used for the purpose of military purposes, it was military engineering, and all other aspects were called as civil engineering. So in civil engineering, essentially the engineers essentially deal with creativity and problem solving. Unlike scientists, engineers are not free to select problems that interest them. So, and they solve problems as they arise and provide solutions satisfying the conflicting requirements. So what we get as actually, हमें समाज में different type के issues आते हैं. So all those issues, an engineer is the one who finds the way out using these, scientific principles, how he can resolve all, or she can resolve the impending problems, whether it is because of some disaster, if there are earthquakes or floods or cyclone or hurricane or typhoon, or because of the difficulty in the terrain itself, or geotechnical condition, soil condition, he is able to give solution. If the soil is too soft, is bearing capacity is less, then how to design? It is not the case that everything is fine and then a simple job is to be done by an engineer. In fact, he has to see what are the issues and challenges, and he gives a solution. And he gives solution in terms of efficiency, in terms of economy, in terms of safety, in terms of improved performance, in terms of bringing more scientific approach to a thumb rule or a natural process of understanding. If you see our old temples or old structures, these are wonderfully done, but then can we economize them? Can we use engineering principles, scientific principles to economize? If you have to do mass construction, group housing, so many structures, can you do with the lesser material in a more economical manner? So that's what a civil engineering is all about. This term civil engineering was first used in the 18th century to distinguish this from the this newly recognized profession from military engineering, which was prominent until then. So all engineering were, other than military engineering, was called civil engineering, and the other types of engineering are only offshoots of civil engineering, which subsequently specialize into some further domain of mechanical or electrical or IT, other kind of things which have come subsequently. And however, various ancient forts, buildings, temples, roads, bridges, dams, etc., built in the past are testimony to an age-old practice of civil engineering. When we say it has come in the term was used in 18th century, but then that doesn't mean that civil engineering in whatever form it was already available. The fundamentals would remain there, but a formal connotation, formal naming or nomenclature or Christian naming of the profession came somewhere in the 18th century. Now, but what civil engineering can be formally defined as? It can be formally defined as, but it is not an undisputable definition. There can be, you can add value to even this definition. This is a discipline or profession involving activities which may range from planning, designing, executing, and or maintaining various structures, works, serving a person or public at large. It could be for an individual or a society at large, such as buildings, roads, bridges, tunnels, ports and harbors, industrial facilities, townships, water supply services, sewerage system, hydraulic structures and systems, to specific aspects of ensuring structural safety, accessibility, functionality, performance of all these. Now, civil engineering, it is a nation's progress is founded on civil engineering, because the pillars of progress itself, if you want to develop, the country is these days on the fast track of development. But then development involves land and infrastructure development on one side, and within this developed land and infrastructure, we have to do a lot of building construction. Now, both land development or infrastructure development and building construction cannot be done unless we use the profession of civil engineering to its hilt. So therefore, it is very important that for nations development, civil engineering professionals, and civil engineering institutions, they are given all the importance. They are properly engaged. They are involved in all aspects of planning, designing, execution, maintenance, and sustenance of all these institutions which are required for the purpose of development. Now, what are the manifestations in civil engineering which are there to serve? So what could be these? A civil engineer can, at township level, a civil engineer as well as some of the other professions can get into a post-graduation in a newer field called town planning. So a civil engineer can aspire to become a town planner or a town and country planner, and then he can serve for the purpose of towards the making of master plans, zonal development plans, layout plans, and help in overdevelopment of a township. A civil engineer is also qualified to do the work of building planning within the building, the space planning in the building, within the four walls of the buildings. He can do all the aspects of lighting and ventilation and space planning and disposition of various facilities, rooms, and services. So these architectural aspects can be done. So this is another role that a civil engineer can play. A civil engineer can also get into the field of structural design. Structural design is nothing but ensuring ensuring preparation of a design to ensure safety of structures from various loads, forces, and effects. And what are these loads, forces, and effects? These could be dead load, imposed load, wind load, snow load, vibration load, load due to temperature, load due to vehicles striking on the stilt or the masonry walls of the structure. It could be cyclonic load. It could be load because of earthquakes. So these are various kinds of loads and their combinations which have to be withstood. A structural engineer understands these loads. What are these basic loads? How they come up? And within the country, there are various zones, and where there will be a basic wind speed zone map of India, which is given in the National Building Code of India 2016, NBC 2016, as well as IS 875 Part 3 2015. Another is Indian standard. So he understands what are these wind loads, what are the basic dead loads of material based on density of those materials. He understands what are the imposed load or live load because of the people who are moving movable parts within the building, the furniture itself, and by understanding those, he is able to understand the therefore dead load, imposed load, and wind load. And he also understands in hill areas snow loads, and he is able to calculate all those loads which may come up together or separately or at the same time, and then based on the zonation or the location of the site, he is able to calculate what is the earthquake forces that may, so which he understands the earthquake or seismic map of India, which is given again in IS 875 Part 1, 1893 Part 1, or the National Building Code NBC 2006. And he, from there, the code and the map, he estimates what are the seismic forces that may fall, and what are the design criteria to be taken for the purpose, depending on what kind of building it is, and importance of the building, and the geotechnical conditions, and he is able to estimate those forces. And then using these kind of forces and loads, he is the one, structural engineer is the one who is able to design a safe structure, safe against its load of the structure itself, as well as imposed loads of various kinds, or the loads that is estimated to be there. And he can design such a safe building or a structure, building or another structure, bridges or maybe the hydraulic structures, using various material streams. These structures could be of concrete, plain and reinforced concrete, pre-stressed concrete, timber, bamboo, steel, masonry, prefabricated concrete, pre-engineered steel buildings, or it can be the mixed and composite construction with, and it could be with even glass facade buildings, where glass is to take all the loads, seismic and wind loads that may come upon, because it's a structural material over there. So he can use various material combination, and he understands the those materials and their behavior. Some of them are composite material, some of them like timber or bamboo are natural material, RCC like a composite material of steel and concrete, and he understands their behavior. And using their behavior and properties, he is able to design a building or a structure which is safe to withstand these loads. This is a structural engineer. He is a great specialist. He is the one who saves lives. He makes a building disaster resistant, and therefore is a very promising profession. Next comes, but then when a structure is to be made, it is to be founded on strong foundations. For strong foundation, one has to understand the behavior of soil and or rock. So soil mechanics and rock mechanics are another area where one can get deep into one can become a civil engineer with a specialization in soil mechanics or rock mechanics, or both of them particularly. And then he is the one who can guide and for estimation of bearing capacity of a soil, and he is able to give measures for he is to estimate of the soil quality and type, and therefore how deep the foundation or what kind of foundation should be designed for a particular structure, so that the structure itself is safe against any kind of failure because of overturning, because of liquefaction of soil, or because of settlement. And therefore is another profession called geotechnical engineering is there. Then when a building, we talked about safety of the building from vagaries of cyclones or earthquakes of and maybe high wind speeds. But then another kind of disaster is can happen because of fire. So a civil engineer can also specialize in various kinds of services, which are building services and plumbing services, and then fire services. In case of fire, the fire and life safety, now the buildings are getting more and more taller. With taller, there are complexities. Now it has got more of complicated electrical services and HVAC or heating, ventilation, air conditioning services. Buildings are quite loaded with fire intensive materials, which have got a lot of fire load. There is a large number of people who work in an office or call center or such kind of commercial buildings. The footfall is very big in case of malls and multiplexes. Therefore, fire safety has become very important. The fire and life safety essentially deals with how to, first of all, to understand the building and fire vulnerability. Buildings essentially are of 9 groups, which are Group A residential, Group B educational, C institutional, D assembly, E business, F mercantile, G industrial, H storage, and J hazardous. These 9 groups of building and their subgroups, these have different vulnerability. For example, Group A residential, which includes sleeping accommodation. Therefore, hotels are also part of Group A building, which is residential. B educational. So from fire point of view, आप देखेंगे कि रेजिडेंस में हमें सारे रास्ते पता होते हैं, अचानक फायर हुई, हमें पता चला और हम जो तुरंत हमें पता होता है, लेकिन इसमें एक वल्नरेबिलिटी होती है, यू इट इज अ स्लीपिंग अकोमोडेशन. सो व्हेन देयर इज अ फायर, यू आर asleep and your natural sensor nose is not at the peak of efficiency, you may come to know about the an occurrence of fire only after it may become a full blown fire, and after then you are sounded because of the kind of smell or odor that comes to you, and therefore there is a different vulnerability. So these buildings, all buildings have different kinds of vulnerability because of the nature or industrial occupancy or different occupancy. So we have to understand. Now in this case there are three aspects: fire prevention, life safety, fire protection. Fire, we have to prevent a fire by delaying its propagation. तो हमें क्या देखना है, which are the fire resistant rated material. कंक्रीट की फायर रेजिस्टेंट रेटिंग क्या है, टिम्बर की क्या है, मेसनरी की क्या है, और जिप्सम बेस्ड इंटरनल पार्टीशंस की क्या है. सो when we understand the fire resistant rating, then we are able to design and give a situation where we can create an interiors which are substantially fire resistant. So fire prevention karna hai hame by using fire resistant rated materials. So you have a fire specialist has a knowledge of fire resistant rated materials. कितना एक 1 hour फायर रेटिंग है, 1.5 hour है, half an hour है, 2 hour है, ग्लास की कितनी होती है, जिप्सम की कितनी होती है, कंक्रीट की कितनी होती है, टिम्बर की कितनी है, कैन वी यूज फायर रिटार्डेंट पेंट्स एंड ऑल दोस थिंग्स. सो दिस इज वन फील्ड. After fire prevention, another is life safety, which is nothing but the fire is detected, alarm is blown, and people have to evacuate. So there is a place where they work which is called exit access. There is a place where they should go which is called exit. जो staircases होते हैं, in some cases corridor also, and there is third place exit discharge, जहां पर वो बाहर निकल जाते हैं बिल्डिंग से. So he has complete understanding of life safety. And third is fire protection, fighting using fixed and portable fire fighting equipment. जो उसमें फायर एक्सटिंग्विशर्स होते हैं, स्प्रिंकलर सिस्टम्स हैं, एंड देन लैंडिंग वॉल्व्स हैं, होज हैं, फायर डिलीवरी होज, कपलिंग एंड नोजल एंड ब्रांच पाइप्स एंड नोजल, जिससे पानी को स्प्रे करके वन कैन फाइट, एंड फायर हाइड्रेंट्स हैं विद इन द बिल्डिंग, अराउंड द बिल्डिंग, जो चार्ज्ड वाटर पाइपलाइंस होती है. सो ही हैज अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ ब्रॉडली थ्री एस्पेक्ट. व्हाट वी जस्ट डिस्कस, फायर प्रिवेंशन, फायर रेटेड मटेरियल यूज करके डिफरेंट बिल्डिंग ऑक्यूपेंसी को जान के, फायर लाइफ सेफ्टी, हाउ टू इवैक्यूएट, डिटेक्ट द फायर, एंड सायरन बजेगा, एंड देन वी हैव टू डू पीरियडिकली फायर ड्रिल आल्सो. देन थर्ड, अब बाहर भी निकल गया बट बिल्डिंग में फायर इज टू बी फॉट यूजिंग फायर एक्सटिंग्विशर, दैट इज पोर्टेबल फायर फाइटिंग इक्विपमेंट and fixed firefighting installation. So fire engineer is building this nuances of building or fire and life safety he understands. So this is another discipline which one can get into, a civil engineer can specialize into. The other kind of services, I said building and plumbing services. Plumbing mein aayega, one civil engineers can get into plumbing services. It is also very, very challenging because in tall buildings, every nook and corner, in malls and highly spread building, you have to ensure that water reaches at every point and every nook and corner of the building. Safe, right quality of water. It may be dual water supply and a portable or otherwise non-potable supply also. How you have to recycle the wastewater also. So from the point of view of green building concept or sustainability concept, so plumbing is another kind of profession. And sometimes fire and plumbing go together because in both the cases there is a water supply. In one case for potable water supply and for daily uses, water is to be supplied to every part of the building, and toilets and bathrooms and all those kitchens. And in another case to fight fire. So to a fire and plumbing, this is another profession, a combined of them. Another is heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, HVAC, very popularly known as. So this is another kind of profession. When in a building, today's building, there are both air conditioned and non-air conditioned building. In case of air conditioned building, you will use air conditioning equipment, the complete system of chillers and air handling units and ducts and supply and return air ducts. And what you have to ensure is indoor air quality. So for indoor air quality, it is not only a matter of cooling, but apart from cooling, you have to ensure the quality of air. The pollutants have to be controlled. The humidity is to be controlled, and therefore is a very fantastic profession, HVAC. And in some cases heating is also involved. In some cases only ventilation is involved. It is a ventilated building. It is a mechanically ventilated building. Most of our buildings should be naturally ventilated, but then you may require mechanical ventilation. So heating, ventilation, air conditioning, another fantastic. Here also use of natural refrigerant or refrigerants which have low global warming potential and zero ozone depletion potential. So based on the Montreal Protocol, that selection, and progressively we are replacing with the better and natural refrigerants which are more eco-friendly. So this is another very big field where one as civil engineer can get into. So please keep an eye on to this profession. Another is today is we are a lot of multiplexes coming, conferences halls are being built, a lot of facilities are coming, auditorias are coming, and what it requires is proper planning and design and execution. This is done through the field of acoustics, sound insulation, and noise control. So there can be acoustical engineers who have knowledge of how of the reverberation to echo, how to control that, ensure that if a building, a classroom is not properly acoustically built, what will have? There will be reverberation, there will be echoing, and what teacher is teaching, the students would not be able to listen properly, and therefore it has assumed the quality of discussion, quality of teaching and learning experience is highly dependent on the acoustical quality of such accommodations. And therefore this is another, this noise control is not only important at the level of buildings, it is in the built environment and township also. You want a town to be little silent, pleasant, and therefore this is another area. The next area is lighting. Today we have lighting. Lighting comes from both natural lighting and supplementary lighting. So this is another area one can profess, because lighting requirement is very important. For example, in industry, certain lumens are required for work, and for example, clothing industry, some lumens are required for maybe cutting, and another is required for stitching, and third level is required for inspection. So 3 levels of lumen requirement is there for the various works and various occupancy. These are all listed. What is the lumen requirement, how to achieve it naturally, plus supplemented by the supplementary lighting also. And these lighting can switch off when there are no people in the conference room and in the toilet, and when it people the moment they come in, it switches on. And therefore these, and similarly for plumbing also, you can ensure such kind of use of plumbing products based on sensor, water efficient fitting, and all those things. So these are some of the nuances of these professions. You have another area. I know many civil engineers who have taken a choice of the profession as lifts, elevator, or lifts, escalator, not elevators, I'm sorry, lifts, escalators, and moving walks. So these are, because you have to ensure accessibility of people to all floors at all levels. So elevators must, even if it is a two-storied building, it is a public building, and public, there are people, aged people, persons with disabilities, they should be allowed to go to all floors, to do their job. They should be able to do job as every able-bodied person. And therefore these have become very essential in all public building and places, and where we have to serve masses particularly. And this profession is, every building has to have a lift on all public buildings, and escalators are becoming common, and moving walks are increasingly being used in the country. And this is another profession where there's a lot of scope of work for our professionals to excel. Then third is transportation engineering, whether it is roads or railways or airports or tunnels, and therefore this is today we are very strongly moving ahead for infrastructure development, which cannot be done without extending our road network, railway network, airports, and lots of airports are coming, lots of tunnels are being made in the country, and one can work for specialization in these areas, and he has a lot of opportunities in this thing. Similarly, the buildings are becoming IT enabled today, whether it is cordless from top, the signal comes from top, or with corded connections which come from the bottom and then move to the all the floors in a building. So these understanding these their spaces which is required, and their disposition within the building, so buildings like facilities like plumbing, conduiting, electricity, you have to ensure that we provide facility for IT enabling, and therefore this is one profession people can excel here. Another area is prefab construction. Today we hear that so and so country is making it within 10 days. It is not actually in 10 days a tall building is constructed. It is actually everything is done, and assembling part is 10 days or 20 days or 30 days, whatever it is. But then it is a good profession. BIS has a separate technical committee working in most of these areas, including in prefab construction. We have a prefab construction code also, 159 IS 15916, and this is another area where we can excel. There are organizations which are working and creating various using various systems. Some are patented systems, some are their proprietary systems which are being used for prefab construction. Lot of housing, mass housing we have to do. It cannot be done without resorting to some of such tools like prefab construction, and lot of tools like building information modeling, and a lot of things are used which are tools, and softwares which are used for planning tools, design tools, execution tools, and this is a very promising field of prefab construction which one can look at. Then we have building and glazing and fenestration. There is another area, a building today, lots of building today are having for glass facade building. These facades are actually structural material, because they have to face the same forces, whether it is dead load, its own load, or wind load and cyclonic load. So therefore this is yet another field where we have specialized people in the country, and there are companies which are manufacturing fire resistant glass, and then stout various kinds of glass, whether it is tempered glass, annealed glass, or float glass, and the variety of glass and variety of application within the building, and as a structural material as for glass facade. So this is another area where one can become a design engineer, or use the glass for various manifestation, for flooring, for parapet, for various purposes, and along with, of course, stainless steel. And then we have public health engineering, or hydraulic engineering, public health engineering, or jal boards, or water supply and sewage disposal undertakings. This is another area where one can be charged with the responsibility of providing a complete ecosystem within a city, where the health and healthcare of the people are taken care by providing complete system in place, right from water intake structure to the water treatment plant, to various storage tanks, and from there pumped to individual houses, every nook and corner, with proper design of such water supply systems. Similarly, back, it can be a water which will go back, which is a sewage and sillage, and and sewerage system in place with sewerage treatment plants, sewage treatment STPs, and today there are a number of packaged STPs, decentralized STPs, where sewage is in situ treated within the site itself, and through water, or through sewerage, wastewater or sewerage, water is reclaimed, and this is used for non-potable applications, for horticulture applications, for flushing applications, and therefore this is another. And there are environmental engineers also who are also associated, and therefore this is another promising field one can specialize into. including solid waste management. A lot of solid waste to energy, waste to wealth is the motto of solid waste managers. And this is another field which this solid waste management is also available through construction and demolition waste, which can be transformed through retrieval of aggregates from such thing, from construction demolition waste. There are plants in the country. All the demolition construction waste are utilized, processed, and then aggregates are retrieved from there, and these are coming up as a part of the systematic. And there are a number of rules and regulations, whether it is waste management rule, plastic waste management rule, electronic waste management rule, construction divestment and demolition waste management rules, and medical waste management rules. One has to understand these various types to understand the domain of solid waste management. Now, with all these efforts, what we create is an asset or a facility. Such asset or facility which we create have to be managed. So a building, for example, is an asset and facility. The difference is asset and facility. Asset is tangible. For example, pipeline is an asset, and water is a facility. So you get a facility through an asset. Conduits and cables are assets, and electricity is facility. So again, it is asset and facility. So therefore, in a built environment, you have lots of assets and which are valuable, and facilities provided using these assets. Now these have to be maintained. For example, a mall or multiplex or a housing complex, nowadays there is a asset and facility management companies which provide this, and you hand over these to them, and these companies, they specialize in security, safety, maintenance of electricity and water supply within the built environment or building, and they are able to take care of all these complexities, including access control within the building. Who can come, who is to be allowed, which part of the building, can he go into a pumping station, supplying water supply for firefighting purposes or no, who should be allowed, who should not be. So access control within the building everywhere. So and including vehicles coming to the building and all those things. So security aspect is also taken care of. So one can get into this specialization of asset and facility management also, and he can win. Then there is a project management consultancy and execution or construction. So first is one can be a executor or constructor or contractor, whatever you call it. So this is another area. Most of the people they landed up in construction activity and site supervision, construction, execution, and handing over of the project. You for completing all the planning, design, architectural design, structural design, and everything, facility, including all building services like water supply, drainage, sanitation, and air conditioning and heating and electricity and all those things. So they execute these things. So this is another supervisor for supervising a big project. A third party construction project management or project management consultancy companies are hired who on behalf of client do independent assessment of the project and help the project manager or the owner or his representative in proper execution of the project. So project management consultancy or project management companies are also another options which one can think of. Then our accessibility. Today we have accessibility, another manifestation which civil engineering can get into. Today there is a Persons with Disabilities Act, and under that act all public buildings have to be accessible. We used to call earlier physically handicapped. Then we said the better term is physically challenged. Then we improved into persons with disabilities, or Honorable Prime Minister, as he says, Divyangjan. The act is called Persons with Disabilities Act 2016. And the objective is to make the facilities accessible to and buildings and facility accessible to all, including persons with disabilities and the elderly. What happens? All of us are, we are born able-bodied, and slowly we get a visual impairment. We get aged. When as we get aged, we are agility reduces. Our walk, we cannot tread stairs. We have difficulty in all those things, and therefore it is very important that the buildings and for persons with the disability, there are number of disabilities the persons may have. It can be uh, uh, at visual impairment or hearing impairment, or it can be in walking, and so ambulatory or non-ambulatory, one can become wheelchair bound, and there we can have a problem of color blindness, autism, and different kind of uh, disabilities can set in, maybe by birth or later part of the, somebody can be temporarily disabled because of accidents, because a lady maybe during pregnancy is temporarily is has the disability because she is not allowed, or she should not do certain kind of activities. She has to take care, and therefore various kind of incidental or regular disabilities have to take care. So these disabilities are not people's disability. This is disability of the facilities. If we can improve the facilities, it can become accessible to all, even 2-year-old or even 85-year-old. And if it can be made step free with proper ramp, with handrails, with a facility of landing in between, where somebody can go and rest. Within wheelchair can be moved easily. Slope is gentle, not more than 1:20, and these are called accessibility. So today's concept is to design all public buildings, access to the building and within the building and all floors in the building, including toilets, accessible toilets. And this design, which is universally applicable to everybody, whether he is disabled or not disabled, is called universal accessible design. So we have to not make special design. One thing is that in an existing building, you do retrofitting and make some design suitable for persons with disabilities. But other thing, better thing is to make a universal accessible building, and which is usable by all, 2-year-old to 85-year-old to persons with disability. This is called accessibility. And there are this is another area one can get into and do the specialization. Next is sustainable development or green building concept. So buildings or built environment, where sustainability comes from the point of view of environmental sustainability, social sustainability, economic sustainability, and broadly it is generally called the green building concept. This is another area. It's a very long topic, so I will not deal with it. And many of you would have already known a little bit about it. So one can get into green building expert or sustainability expert. This is another area. Then another area is water resources development and management. So water resources is another area. Dams, spillways, and your canals, irrigation systems, and all those things, and hydrological aspects. These are taken care of. So this is another field, and we have a lot of irrigation departments in the country and looking after all these things. So, and then meteorology. Meteorology is another part of precipitation and the collection of data of wind speed, of precipitation or snowfall, and these and or seismic data. So this is another area which can interest many of us. Then using all this, and then there can be transportation, and there can be professions. These were the manifestation of civil engineering discipline. But using these disciplines, one can become civil engineer, a building planner, or a constructor, or a contractor. He can become a town planner, as we discussed, structural engineer. If he deals with the special kind of loads and situation, he can be a disaster mitigation specialist, geotechnical engineer, fire safety consultant, HVAC consultant, acoustical consultant, lift, escalator, moving walk consultant, plumbing consultant, quantity surveyor and or valuer, and then he can become public health or hydraulic engineer, project management consultant, the HSC, health, safety and environmental engineer or consultant, or only safety consultant, asset and facility manager or consultant, MEF consultant, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, fire consultant. These includes all the services. He can be only mechanical, which is air conditioning and refrigeration. He can be only electrical. He can be only plumbing. He can be fire. He can be plumbing and fire consultant, or he can make a team and become a mechanical, electrical, plumbing and fire consultant. And as we discussed, he can become accessibility consultant. Today, accessibility audits are done, sustainability or green building audits are done. These are done by specialists called these consultants. Waterproofing consultant is another field today which has a specialized. Not everybody can do it, because there are roof gardens, wall gardens, are being done, and building safety and sustainability is also dependent on its ability to resist the penetration of moisture. So waterproofing consultancy is also very, very important, particularly in wet areas of buildings like bathroom, kitchen, and all those things. And sustainability or green building consultant, smart city consultant. Now a lot of smart cities have come. This is another discipline where smartness is an accelerator. It is a solution or accelerator to sustainability. It gives solutions, smart solutions. So you can do in a conventional way, you can use smart solutions also. So this is another area one somebody can suggest. And then you can have termite control operator or pest control operator, PCOs. All buildings are subject to these. There are companies today which are specializing into this termite control, because otherwise their infestation causes a huge amount of damage. And your all woodwork, especially paneling work or partitioning work or cupboards or this fixed furniture, these all get damaged because of termite infestation. In some part of the country or areas, it is too much, and there is a special consultancy which is happening here also. Building material manufacturing is another area, and it's a very, very big scope. We will discuss prefab and other construction technology. And then one can become developer, or he can become builder or developer, not supplier. He can become research and development R&D scientist. He can get into scientific things in all these areas which we have discussed. So he can be a scientist. There are CSIR bodies and so many bodies. One can get into academics in general civil engineering, in all these specialized area. Whatever interests him, he can become a water resource, dams, canals engineer, or irrigation engineer. He can become a highway, railway, bridge engineer, transportation engineer, covering road, railway, bridge, tunnel, airports. So these are professions. Now, possible destinations with all these profession and his designations which we have discussed, destinations we have discussed. One can get into a manufacturing industry. One of the most large employer of civil engineers is a manufacturing industry. India produces cement more than the entire Europe. You can understand, and it is growing a very big capacity, and it is second largest in the world. And cement is one manufacturing industry. A lot of big players are there, and there are small scale units are also there, and there are ready-mix concrete plants are there. There are mortar manufacturers, not only concrete manufacturer, but ready-mixed mortar, dry mix mortars are also being manufactured, and wood products, plywood, particle board, fiber board, block board, doors, windows, fenestrations. These are all another sort of, there are a variety of them with various combinations, including plastic doors are also there, steel doors are there, wooden doors are there, particle board are there, block board, panel door, ledge braced batten door. Lot of variety in each of these are there. So, and you can make a steel door, solid steel, steel pipes, doors, and frames of that. So all those areas also manufacturing. There are large number of units working in this area. Then clay and soil based products, whether it is you can use a variety of them. Like you can have a burnt clay bricks, you have perforated bricks, you have hollow bricks, and when this is clay based, similarly concrete based, same soil based, IS 1725. This is stabilized soil block, in particular in south. Soil Crete or other brands are working. So one can use these areas and develop, manufacturing facilities also, or work in the already establishment, have new establishment. Building and dimension stones, nothing but stones which are used for masonry purposes or flooring purposes. So this is another area. Stones are widely used in the country and will continue to be used. They have their own strength and aesthetics values. Then manufacturing of lime and gypsum based product. A lot of interiors are being made out of gypsum. So this is another area. Gypsum boards and dry partitions, dry constructions, false ceilings, building components and concrete products and prefab concrete. There are partial prefab components. There is lightweight concrete blocks. There is solid concrete block. There are lightweight aggregate concrete block. There is centered fly ash aggregate manufacturing unit. There is autoclave aerated concrete AAC blocks. There is stone concrete block. There is concrete large panel prefab unit. There are partial prefab building component which are tied together to make a prefab building. So these are all there are precast boundaries, precast manhole covers and frames, precast gratings are there, cable covers are there, hume pipes are there, prefabricated the pre-stressed concrete pipes are there. So steel pipes are there, structural steel and reinforcement, steel pipes, ductile iron pipe, cast iron pipe, and structural steel, steel reinforcement. There is a non-steel reinforcements are also coming nowadays, which are not of steel but GRP based, reinforcement. That is glazing is another big area, because a lot of glazing work is being done in buildings today, within the building and glass facade buildings also. So there are companies manufacturing glass and various variety of glass, and there are companies which are converters of glass, ordinary glass, float glass into tempered glass and laminated glass and all those things. So those are also there. Then there is flooring, wall finishing, not fixing, wall finishing and roofing material. These are ceramic tiles, terrazzo tiles, mosaic tiles. You have linoleum, magnesium oxychloride tiles, rubberized tiles, and so many of them. Stone polymer tile, and there are this textile-based tiles are also there. And so these are, and wallpapers, wall finishes, and roofing materials, false roofing material. Then GI sheet, profiled steel sheets for roofing purposes, and those are all there. Then plumbing products, variety of them, whether bib tap, mixers, pillar tap, valves, and your ceramic wares, vitrified wash basins, WC seat cover, and a lot of plumbing pipes are there. Plastic pipes are there. Concrete pipes, iron pipes, steel pipe, plastic pipes, plumbing pipes, particularly CPVC, PVC, HDPE, and a lot of pipes, and water tanks. Plastic water tanks are there. Rotational molded tanks are there. HDPE tanks are there, and there are otherwise tanks which are now panel-based tanks which are assembled together. And similarly, there are machinery for manufacturing of all these products, equipment for testing of all these products, whether cement testing, concrete testing, or testing of various these things. One can get into specialization of these precision equipment also, surveying equipment also. Then various building chemicals, adhesives, sealants, and these are also another area. Waterproofing compound especially is one area which is very, very you can see a lot of advertisements also. So it has become very important today because for ensuring preventing water ingress. Fabricated steel sections and lightweight steel sections are also there for pre-engineered buildings. Then we have furniture. Today, furniture is a very, very important part. Furniture, interior materials, variety of furniture, which is designed to assembled knock down furniture or ready to assemble furniture. And we have all standard for all of these things. We have around 2000 standards for all these aspects. And these furniture are suit various kinds of varieties. These are performance based furniture, which are not they don't talk about wood or steel or plastic or storage unit or one type or the other. These are performance based. So irrespective of the material and finishes, it will we have test methods where you can test it. And then structural engineering consultancy firm, whether it is for building design of a residential office, commercial hospitals, airports, industrial, structural design in glazing, structural design in bridges, flyovers, tunnel, structural design in hydraulic structure, irrigation projects. The third category is building planning and design consultancy firm. And sometimes they take the complete project, right from the planning, design, architecture planning, design, execution, complete job also some of these projects take. And then engineering services consultancy firm, which I called MEPF. So you can open some of these firms or work in these firms. And builders and developer firms, civil contracting firm or execution firm or installation firm, erection firm, civil. Then you can have government organization where you can get into. With all these disciplines, you can get into railways, CPWD, state PWD, housing boards, PhDs, JAL boards, or water supply and drainage and sewerage undertaking, water resources departments, and border roads organization, MES, Ministry of Road Transport, Highways, Airport Authority and I think nowadays we also have shipping, another area. So all these transportation means you can be a specialist in all these things. Irrigation departments, India Meteorological Department, IMD, Survey of India, various public sector undertakings, PSUs like NTPC, NBCC, NHPC, Indian Oil, Bharat Petroleum, Steel Authority of India, ONGC, NHAI, NPCI, Nuclear Power Corporation of India, EIS, Coal India Limited. There are so many of these firms which use the services of civil engineers. You have R&D institutions like CSIR body, the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, CSIR body, Central Building Research Institute, Structural Engineering Research Center, National Environmental Engineering Research Institute, National Physical Laboratory, NPL, EMPRI, Advanced Material Research Institute, DRDO Laboratory, Ministry of Defense. There are a number of them. Then BARC, Baba Atomic Research Center, National Council for Cement and Building Materials, Ballabgarh in Haryana near Delhi, Forest Research Institute, Kerala Forest Research Institute, Indian Institute of Wood Science and Technology, Bangalore, IPRIT, Indian Plywood Industry Research and Training Institute. Then you can have your own, rather than working in any other organization, your own professional consultancy activity of building design, of green building, on accessibility, on sustainability, on execution or consultancy, rather than working in these firms. So you can open up your own firm after some experience, gaining some, you can get into regulators. You can be into local bodies, municipal corporation, municipalities, development authorities, town and country planning departments, fire services department, atomic energy regulatory board, National Disaster Management Authority, or state or district disaster management authority. You can get into higher studies will not come here, it will come under academics, of course. And then you can get into standardization departments like Bureau of Indian Standards, to which I belong. And whatever I am able to say you is by virtue of my experience within BIS, where I'm dealing with almost all, not almost all of them, and more of them, these institutions. And RDSO, Ministry of Railways, Research Design Standardization Organization, Indian Roads Congress under Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, and there are more of them. Then you can get into academics and teaching. You can get into post-graduation, higher studies, MTech, PhD, and you can go into research, academics plus research, or only purely research also. So these are all areas where you can get into. So you should know your interest is fire, your interest is gypsum, your interest is glass. You want to be a regulator. You can in regulator local body, you have to approve building plans of the other. In town and country planning organized, you have to prepare the master plans. In disaster management, you will become an expert in disaster. So this is what I had to share, and with that I would like to only say that what I have mentioned here, this is all based on what I have experienced in BIS, these standards. We use the services of these bodies to develop standards, to make National Building Code of India, NBC 2016, which is the latest version. We have involved all of them. They are part, whether they are manufacturers or consultant or government body or private body. And one more area which is left here is testing laboratory. There is one profession which is purely testing. They don't do research, but there are other areas which do research and testing. So they purely, some of the CSIR body do testing also, but there are other set of bodies who would like National Test House, and there are other testing institutions also. So one can get into testing regime also. That is also very testing and evaluation. So I think with that, I would like to thank all of you. I try to be as fast as possible. There are various details, further details. So please get into better understanding of the area which is of your liking, and civil engineering, to my understand, is one of the best disciplines to work. And I congratulate all those who have already joined civil engineering, who may be students, and especially those who have got timely exposure to these kind of discourses. They will be able to, I hope it will help them to plan their career better, and there is a huge amount of opportunity to serve the country through this discipline. Thank you so much.